Joining us now on the John Fredericks Radio Network, E.W. Jackson. Well, E.W., he ran for lieutenant governor in 2013. He got beat by Ralph Northam, who is now running for governor for the Democrats. E.W. also ran, I think, for U.S. Senate. Yes, he did in 2012, and got beat by George Allen. And he might be running for U.S. Senate again. So far, one candidate in that race on the Republican side, that is Corey Stewart. They'll be fighting, if EW gets in, for the opportunity to take on U.S. incumbent Democratic Senator and former vice presidential candidate Tim Kaine. So lots going on. We just heard right now this over the wire from the president. The president says Tom Marino, who has been on our show, by the way, many times, the congressman from Tennessee, Marino, has informed me, the president says, that he is withdrawing his name from consideration as drug czar. The president tweeted, Tom is a fine man and a great congressman. So that is the end of Tom Marino and his opportunity to be drug czar, getting involved in swamp politics, taking money from the drug companies and watering down drug laws so the drug companies can make more money. This is what the swamp does. Now, I've had Marino on my show. He's a good guy. No problem. Look, they're all good guys. But they get the money from the drug companies. They sit on committees, and then they, behind the scenes, water down bills in order to take the money, not personally, but into their campaign coffers so that they can be sure they get reelected. This is the way the swamp works. It is just one big trough of pigs feeding off taxpayer dollars. Middle-class Americans have not had an increase in wages, or lower-class American workers, in 40 years. Wages flat, jobs down. But they go to Congress. They live in the swamp. They have $10,000 breakfast for a bowl of Wheaties. They take money from drug companies while kids are dying of opioid overdoses, and they get reelected. This is how the swamp works. Joining us now, no swamp monster, E.W. Jackson. He's got a big event coming up, too, this weekend. It's pretty neat. E.W., good to have you with us, man.
Well, as always, John. And by the way, congratulations on the new stations. That's great to see the network expanding. More
Thank you.
People get to hear from you.
Well, E.W., thank you so much. Is that a good thing or a bad? That was kind of tongue-in-cheek there.
Listen, I listen to the program as often as I can, and you have great guests, and you do a great job. So kudos to you, John. Hey, listen, you know the definition of a swamp is essentially that it stagnates. It doesn't move. It's not like a river. It's not like a stream. It just sits there and preserves what's there. And that's what Washington, D.C. is doing. The Republicans and Democrats, unfortunately, seem to be more interested in the status quo and in maintaining their own sinecures and their own privileges and all of that than they are in moving forward the president's agenda. And so it is the classic definition of a swamp. And, yeah, you got to get in there and stir that water up and start getting it out of that pit that it's sitting in. So I think the president's on the right track, and I hope Mitch McConnell will catch hold of the vision because I don't see right now that Mitch McConnell is anything but a fixture in the swamp.
Well, McConnell said yesterday that we need to get rid of this swamp thing, and he's not interested in Steve Bannon going around trying to primary people. He's like, look, you know, you did this in 2010 with the Tea Party. You nominated Christine O'Donnell in Delaware, Sharon Engel in Nevada, you Murdoch in Indiana. I think it was Ames or somebody in Iowa or Missouri. They all lost. And as a result, the Democrats kept control of the U.S. Senate that we would have had. So he said, This doesn't make any sense. Just return us back to power. Go with our incumbents. We know how to govern. You know, all you other people are just rabble-rousers, shaking the tree. Just put us back in because, you know, look, I've got this beautiful four-corner office that overlooks the Potomac. I got my wife is the Secretary of Transportation. I'm making so much. I'm going to come out of here. I'm going to be a bajillionaire. I want to get reelected. I want to stay in power. I want to get all the perks. I want to command the money. And so just keep us in power so we can continue our record of tremendous accomplishment in the Republican U.S. Senate that we've had since 2015. I mean, EW, there are It's been breathtaking, hasn't it?
It has, and and I'm sure the election of Judge Roy Moore probably scared the daylights out of him. That's true. We've had some candidates who have not yet emerged out of this sort of new conservative movement that is happening, people who actually believe in the stuff we espouse and actually want to see it implemented rather than just getting in there and going along to get along. He better be careful, because I think that the American people are more and more incensed, more and more activated, and I think we're going to see more and more of these elections in which these long-term incumbents are overthrown and new people are set there with an agenda to actually get things done. So I think Mitch McConnell's in for a rude wake-up. And, the thing, of course, that offends everybody is everybody knows that if the Democrats were in control of the Senate right now, they would have gotten rid of the cloture rule in a heartbeat.
Right.
And this guy is sitting on it as if he's some sort of institutional curator preserving the museum of Senate rules. And people want to get things done, not preserve traditions that don't help them.
Well, no question about it. They hide behind mommy's apron. They take the money. They don't have to go on the record, and so it's easy. That's why they have the rule. But let me ask you this. Mitch McConnell has been the majority leader since he took power in January of 2015. Other than our Supreme Court justice that the president chose, can you name another major accomplishment coming out of the Republican U.S. Senate majority since they took over? One. Name one.
Well, John, you don't understand. You see, things work slowly in the U.S. Senate. The president doesn't understand. No, of course not, because they're not doing anything. He's not doing anything. And look, this is the reason why he's not doing anything. He doesn't believe in anything. And this is the problem with these folks. Their principles are a mile wide and about a 16th of an inch deep, if that. And really the thing they believe in most is their own careers. It's that old saying that some people get into politics to be somebody and some people get into politics to do something. Well, he wants to be somebody, and so he is somebody. He's the majority leader. But he doesn't really believe in anything, and he certainly doesn't believe in the president's agenda. So, look, I've already called for his resignation. He needs to go. We need new leadership in the United States Senate that is going to aggressively pursue the president's agenda, because you're right. Otherwise, my concern is the president is going to end up with a big fat goose egg, and it's going to be primarily the result of things dying in the United States Senate, and that is not going to be good in next year.
Well, E.W., we just had Senator Mark Warner on, who I asked him to predict whether tax reform would get done in 2017, and he said flatly no. So, look, nothing is going to happen. So, E.W., everybody is telling me you're going to run for the U.S. Senate in 2017. Everybody except your wife. What's the deal?
Yeah.
She's the last holdout?
Before I even get into that, I'd better make sure that I mention this national conference. You already alluded to it, or
yes.
Everybody's going to think I've completely lost it here. Yeah, we on Friday, we're starting a National Awakening Conference. This will be our second annual for STAND, Staying True to America's National Destiny. And we want people to come. David Barton will be speaking. Brigitte Gabrielle will be speaking. And pastors from all over the country will be coming in to talk about how do we get America back on track. I've said, John, the president can't do it alone. It requires all of the American people pulling together. And this is what this conference is all about, bringing together, restoring our Judeo-Christian value system, free markets, small government, lower regulations, lower taxes, giving the American people an opportunity to breathe culturally, spiritually, economically, on every level. So we hope people go to standamerica.us, and register and come to our conference. We've still got slots available. We'd love to have people come. Now, as far as a run for the United States Senate is concerned, I'll tell you, if I were going to run, I wouldn't have to announce it, John, because you've already taken care of that for me. So
I told everybody you're going to run. I just told Stuart you were going to run. I just had him on at 8 o'clock. I told Stuart you were going to run.
Yeah, I listened to the interview.
I think I put the fear of God in him.
Look, John, there are two PACs that have been formed. already trying to get me to run. One is a draft E.W. Jackson for U.S. Senate PAC, and then there's another one that is focused on me as the best candidate for the race. So I'm flattered by that. I'm honored by it. Obviously, I'm taking it very, very seriously. I know I would need to make a decision here very, very shortly. So all I would say to people is stand by.
Just do it.
Stand by.
Just do it. You need me to talk to your wife? I'll get it done. I'll close it.
Okay.
I'll call it today. I'll close it.
I appreciate that, John.
I'll get it. I'll get it. I'll call Theodora. I'll just be like, look,
persuade her. Yeah.
we got to get this done, right? I'll say, here, I'll make a deal. I'll say, if you get EW in the race, I'll come to your conference. I'm going to go anyway. By the way, it's only $50.
Let me just say on a very serious note, John, there's no question we do need leadership that can address a number of issues that our country is facing. See, I think not only have we had an economic problem, which I think the president is well on his way to addressing if he can get the cooperation of the Senate,
right.
But let's face it, we've got a cultural problem. I mean, the division in our country, the breakdown of patriotism, the breakdown of a sense of American, the name of my organization, of America's national destiny, a sense of being a nation with a mission and a purpose for our existence. We need candidates who can address these issues and begin to help Americans understand who we are and why we exist and why we've been the most successful nation on earth. And a real look at, are we a racist nation? Are we an unjust nation? I think there's a lot of need for somebody to provide leadership on those levels as well as on the economic and political level.
Well, look, I mean, this is all you have to know, right? So Tom Marino, he's been on my show like 5-7 times, Congressman, Pennsylvania. The congressman's withdrawal as the, get this, drug czar comes after a joint CBS 60 Minutes and Washington Post report revealed this weekend that Marino took nearly $100,000 in campaign contributions from the pharmaceutical lobby while sponsoring a bill that made it easier for drug companies to distribute opioids across American communities and thwart the Drug Enforcement Agency, or the DEA. This EW, this Tom Price taking $1 million charter jets to fly from Washington to Philadelphia that you or I would have spent $29 for on an Amtrak ticket. This is what the swamp is. And until we get people in the U.S. Senate and in Congress that will reject this behavior and be for the people and not themselves, nothing is going to change. I don't care who we elect president. I don't care who's in the majority. As long as you got people like Tom Marino taking $100,000 from drug companies in his coffers to then weaken the DEA's effort to stop the transfer of opioids, you're never going to get a darn thing done in this country.